back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is another edition of the unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com. And welcome back, everybody, as Sooners, they're actually starting to hit the practice field now. And we've had some recruiting camps to cover, and we're going to talk about that with by the way, this is our chance to just rip the shit out of him. Josh McCuistion, we delayed the pod until today, trying to accommodate that son of a bitch. And Eddie Radosevich, Bob Przbillo join us. He sent us a message earlier today. Let's just talk about this real quick. I never got the idea, he wasn't going to do the pod this week. And I just said, okay, well, we'll give you... I mean, it was kind of passive-aggressive. He never committed to doing it, but he also didn't commit to not doing it.
Bingo. It was a classic Eddie Radosevich move. Yeah, I'm interested in going and having a drink with you on Friday night. Friday afternoon rolls around at noon. Don't answer the text. 3 o'clock rolls around. Don't answer the phone call. By 4 or 5 o'clock, you kind of get the idea. Probably not going to make it.
Josh is on. He
really wasn't sure. He wasn't sure when he was coming back.
He was on. He's on vacation. They've rented something somewhere. The lavish life that Josh McCuistion.
He won't even tell us where he is.
No, we have no idea where he is. Just that they rented a place. That's the last thing he told us. He said, "Well, we've rented a place, and we'll see how it goes, but I can make it work on the phone." That was the last thing. So I sent a message out this morning, and I said, "Josh, how things looking?" Eddie, do you want to say what is? You want to read his reply? Just deadpan read his reply, and you can tell me whether that means f*** you or I'll be there.
It was, quote, let me look it up so I don't want to mischaracterize what was said here.
I said, Josh, any read on how today is going for you? That was my question.
Oh, quote, I'll be at the pool.
Huh?
And I thought, okay, well, he's preparing me for pool background noise while we get him on the phone. But no, it was a f*** you.
Oh, wait, so now we're getting him?
No.
Oh, I thought you said that we were. My bad.
No. Well, he's gone. He's whiskey hammered right now at 10:47 in the morning on a Thursday.
Hey, he's been with the two little ones throwing birthday parties all week. He probably deserves a drink.
Well, that's the thing. We were told it would be a 3-day sabbatical because it was a 3-day birthday party, which, Bob, don't get me started. I know you threw a whole week birthday party, but that was for turning 1. I don't know which one was having the birthday.
It was 3 days. It was Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yes. It was a 3-day party.
You guys and your kids, man. I mean, oh.
I do birthday month. That's the new thing. Birthday month.
Yeah. I took my status off my Facebook about when my birthday was. And then when my birthday came and nobody wished me happy birthday, I felt kind of bad, so I put my status back on.
And then you let us know the next day on the pod.
Yeah, you did that to yourself.
I know. I did it.
The only way I'm going to know about a birthday is if it's on Facebook. I have to be alerted on Facebook.
I agree. That's the social convention now. Well, I will say this. Josh worked his ass off on Sunday along with you two, going to Durant and covering the elite camp down there. It was the kind of ESPN's chance to get a look at some guys because, let's face it, there's not going to be high school football in a lot of places this year. To keep evaluating guys. And I don't even know how this whole all-American game system is going to work with high schools starting their seasons late and maybe some people not even having seasons or some people enrolling early in college because, their games have been moved to the spring or whatever. It's going to be a mess, but nevertheless, you guys got to see a lot of good players Sunday in Durant.
Yeah, it was probably the strangest camp we've ever been to because there was no wide receivers versus defensive backs, no linemen going against each other. So you really just got to watch the guys for about 30 to 45 minutes apiece, working on air, just working on drills. But it's always good to see the kids in North Texas for 2022, 2023 get a feel of that group and why so many of those kids are talked about, like a Kelvin Banks or Cam Dewberry or Bear Alexander. You know, you get to understand, okay, that's why he's going to be a borderline 5-star when rankings really get finalized here. And then at the same point, kind of see where some of those top kids within OK Prep fall within that rank. Like Jacob Sexton from Deer Creek, maybe he's not at the Bank Dewberry level, but he's not that far off. And I thought the way that he performed Sunday is a great indicator of where he'll be. And then, of course, with Talon Chetron at Edmond Santa Fe, just coming off being ranked the number 1 receiver by ESPN for the 2022 class, he showed it. He had a different confidence. He played a lot differently compared to what he was a year ago. So just a good time to see these guys again and how their body has matured and developed, even if you couldn't really evaluate like their competitiveness and them going one-on-one against some of the best kids.
Yeah, it was kind of almost like it was an actual combine, right? Like instead of getting the one-on-one stuff, you actually got to see the guys move around. And more than anything, you guys, if you're on the board, you'll see it with the interviews that Josh did with all the guys. We'll get those up throughout the rest of the week on the site. I think more than anything, those guys were just happy to be out there and out of their house and doing something that has some type of semblance of being normal. So, I mean, I guess we kind of just got to take it. It's like with the professional sports. I've made an oath, and I know this is surprising for me, but I'm not going to bitch about anything when it comes to outside of the game. You want to put fans through technology in the stands, go for it. If it makes you feel better, nothing. I'm not stopping you because at least we have something to talk about that isn't, the serious matter as far as the coronavirus. It's actual sports.
By the way, I don't mind that for baseball at all because baseball is a sport that just looks weird without fans. It just does. Like the NBA, the way they're set up, we've seen so much summer league and stuff like that where they're playing like in Orlando's gym, their practice facility. Like the way it's set up, I don't mind it. I mean, and there's always noise in an NBA game, whether it's the music or the PA announcers. I just don't want the fake piped in cheering when you know that there are no fans there. That's the only thing that bothers me because it's like I feel like you're treating me like I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that is it is weird, but it's also weird too watching the games and there's just nobody in the stands. And I think the only sport that has really jumped off the page to me is baseball. Like the basketball stuff, and I joked with you guys in the Scoop War Room. Just as far as I feel like I'm just constantly watching the 11 a.m. game at the Battle of the Atlantis or one of those November tournaments that nobody goes to. I guess in a way I'm almost conditioned to it. So it hasn't really bothered me that much. And I'm also another guy that, and maybe this is just me, but like if I'm watching a game, usually it's at a bar or at home. And if I'm at home, I don't always have the volume just blasting. Because I think that most of the stuff that some of the announcers say is dumbass. So, like, not hearing the fans, I guess, is just not something that I really have noticed. I'm sure it'll be different once I start paying more attention to it.
I think the example you're looking for is the 7th place game at the Great Alaskan Shootout.
Yes. And I love the Great Alaskan Shootout because that meant I got to stay up past midnight.
Those
games would start at like 3 a.m. and shit.
Yeah. That was a tournament for a while. It's no longer, I don't think. I don't think.
No, it's over. I don't think they do that anymore.
Okay.
I remember you played up there in like 96 though or something.
Yeah, no, I think Hollis Price played up there. Or I think Hollis played there and maybe Buddy played there when he was young. I don't know. I can't. It's been a while. It's been.
I think it stopped in the mid 2000s.
I remember OU playing that though. Okay, so outside of that, what you saw this weekend, was there anything just in particular that really stood out, or any player that really stood out that maybe you'd heard of, or you'd seen a little video, but in person just really kind of smacked you in the face?
Oh, I mean, Bob,
Yeah.
for me, just real quick for me, I would say first and foremost, Morgan Pearson is every bit the athlete that I thought he was. And then on top of that, it's going to be hard to find a better wide receiver in the country than Talon Shetron, just with what he was able to do in just a workout setting, and just seeing how he's really kind of progressed physically, quite impressive.
Yeah, when you look at Pearson, he's the 2023 prospect from Plainview who already has the OU offer for baseball. And yeah, he measured at 6'2.5" without cleats on. So there's no telling where that kid's gonna end up as his body keeps on growing. And there's no doubt that he passed the eye test that we got to see Sunday. I go to the trenches, and I kind of already mentioned them, but you've heard about Calvin Banks and how he was committed to OSU and he decommitted, and you're sort of wondering, what's the big story about this kid? Okay, he might not be 6'6", so maybe he might not be a true tackle and the prototype of what you want to see. But what I saw Sunday, I understand why so many schools are going after him and why Bill Beatenbow really wants him as a cornerstone for the 2022 class. Just sort of what was really nice about that whole camp experience, there didn't feel like there were a lot of duds. You could seriously go through each position group, and even if they don't have offers now, you'd be like, oh, I wouldn't be shocked if that kid starts to pick some up because he's not out of place here. So that's a great job done by the organizers of making sure it was a highly competitive and living up to its moniker of being an elite camp, not just someone who if you pay money, you can definitely show up. This is for the best of the best, and it felt like that throughout the entire day.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of camps, it was great to be able to just have something. Like I said, it was more of a combine, but great to be able to just kind of go out and see some kids. And who knows? I mean, I think Oklahoma is still yet to really make any decisions, or they are yet to make any decisions on what's going to happen with high school football. You've seen some counties in Dallas try and say this and that. I think Oklahoma, haven't public schools been pushed back to August 31st, which doesn't necessarily affect football, but that probably affects whether, I don't know. I don't know if that affects whether you can practice or not.
Yeah. As of this morning, OSAA they've announced that the plan is to move on as planned.
Just with the season.
The season is starting as nothing else was going on, and as in usual OSAA fashion, they're now putting it on superintendents to be, I guess, kind of the centerpiece or figureheads in decisions for their district.
Yeah, and we saw earlier this week with Texas, with 5A, 6A being delayed until the end of September. Now that means Bixby and Union are going to be playing against each other. They were supposed to be playing Texas schools. I think Jenks just announced today they'll be playing a team in Arkansas to make up for that. So it's business as usual within this state until we're told differently.
Yeah, and it basically came with a asterisk next to David Jackson's announcement in that, we know that things are we're going to have to be able to adjust to things on the fly and just basically go into the season knowing that, it's not a certain that the state championship's going to be on this date in December. You're going to have to just go in knowing that, you're going to have to go in knowing that if there's interruptions, you're going to kind of have to take it as it is.
And what's really funny, because it was OKCPS that announced the delay, it's weird that when it comes to sports, that doesn't really matter because it's only, I believe Douglas is the highest classification, and that's 4A. It's almost as if it's like, all right, but we can move on without you because you're not the 5A, 6A. You're not the big boys.
Well, and we know states like Virginia just not going to have football, and it'll be interesting to see, if there's been a lot of jokes about, boy, there's going to be a lot of new prep schools opening up in Florida this year to start football teams because all these, all the big time players are going to want to play somehow. So, will kids transfer? Will you see some of that stuff? Is IMG going to take a bunch of kids? All that stuff is yet to play out. And then New Mexico's not doing anything, and they're trying to get their colleges not to play. California, who knows what the hell's going to happen out there? I mean, they may try and block the Chargers and the Rams from even playing this year, much less high schools. I just don't see high schools playing in California this year, just the way California is. It's not. It's just kind of the way they are. Just that seems to be a very, I don't know. It's like peanut butter and jelly. California making rash decisions about athletics.
You don't even think they'll play in December?
I can't see it. Not the way that state operates.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny when
high schools. I'm talking about not college, but high schools.
Sure, I did think it was really funny that somebody put out a tweet. I think it was yesterday or on a Tuesday, talking about Cal Berkeley doesn't plan on having classes indoors this semester. And it's like, oh yeah, Cal Berkeley. I really expected them to be rushing to get back onto campus.
Well, yeah, I mean, places like Cal and Stanford, and I mean, you just wonder how that's it. USC's already announced they won't have all their classes are online, so it just, man, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pac-12 isn't actively talking about just canceling football for this year to see if they could do it.
I mean, it's actually quite the opposite. They just in the last 30 minutes it's been leaked out. John Wilner, Mercury News, him and Dan Wolken have taken a timeout on their crusade end fraternities. The following parameters are 10-game conference only schedule starting September 19th, contingency plan with a 9-game schedule, 2 bye weeks per team, probably slotted in October and November if games have to be canceled due to coronavirus, and then 3 options to play the Pac-12 conference championship game being pushed all the way back to December 4th.
I guess that does make sense, though. You think about how financially strapped they are and how poorly their television network has gone. They, out of everyone, need the revenue more than anyone.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, I think that at least we're not acting like it's not all about money anymore. We can at least say it out loud.
That it is about money?
Oh, yeah, it is.
And they're used to playing in front of nobody in the Pac-12.
Well, that's definitely true.
Well, and I mean, and we mentioned this earlier, like, who knows how this is going to play out for high school all-star games, because, the purpose of the deal Sunday, or part of the purpose, is to kind of scout kids to evaluate for your Under Armour All-American game. You're going to have, the game in San Antonio. And if all these schools are pushing back the start of their football seasons, they're going to be playing football during those all-star games when they're traditionally held. So do you have to push those back to the spring? But then if you do that, then you lose early enrollees, and maybe some kids wouldn't want to play because, they're more concerned about going to college than they are playing in an all-star game, which I think most kids would play given that choice. But yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, like, all-star games, that's the last thing down on the list that anybody really gives 2 shits about. Like, they just want just want regular season football to be played. High school and college.
I mean, honestly, I know that it would suck for the kids not to have the opportunity to play in it, but if they just canceled those right now, that is probably on the short list of things that I would say, yeah, that kind of makes sense. That's okay. We have bigger fish to fry.
Less important than the Rose Bowl, Eddie?
I still can't believe
the Rose Bowl parade
canceled in 2021. But
the
then
parade,
again,
yeah.
See the state that it's all taking place in. I am slightly surprised, though, that, I guess in a way it's kind of come rushing up in our face as far as, we had all these months to figure all this stuff out. And now we're sitting here literally days before, NFL teams have already had guys report to camp, the rookies. Colleges, as you reported this morning, Carrie, OU's started their walkthroughs in Norman today. It's just hard to imagine that it's all right here, and we still don't have really basically any answers on how any of this is going to go.
Well, if OU could just bottle up what they're doing and give it to everybody else, we wouldn't have to worry about a college football season, because they just had another report out from their weekly testing update. 96 football players tested, no new cases. No active cases in their coaching staff. Everyone that's had it has been recovered, which, by the way, I don't know. This kind of goes along with just what's driving me crazy right now with the coronavirus is that everyone is just so bitchy and they're so aggressive on social media. Like all I did was posted OU 0 new cases, tested 96, 16 recoveries. And there were like 2 people who were like, well, how do they have recoveries if they don't have any cases? I'm like, dude, I'm not going to explain this to you. Like, they had cases. People get the coronavirus and then they get over it. They recover from it.
Like 99% of the people.
I think it's 99.9, isn't it?
Probably.
Or they 99.9 just don't die from it. We don't know about your future, Eddie. We don't know. Your lung capacity could be gone in the future.
Hey, honestly, I don't think it could get any lower, to be just completely honest with you. So, I mean,
were you hurting
bring
Sunday?
It on. The what?
You were just out playing golf on Saturday. I mean, you're acclimated to the outdoors, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I was fine on Saturday. I mean, I felt like, and Bob can say it, but he can back me up on this. It felt like we were standing in the middle of the sun down there.
God.
Like there is no trees within any sight. But I will say that the little complex that they had that thing at was very awesome. It was a very nice facility and a very well-run camp.
And what's funny is that I know people don't care about the media, but the only people that really were in danger were the media and the coaches and trainers, because they cycled everyone in and out. So no one was out there. No athlete was out there for longer than 1 to 2 hours. But like Josh was there from 8 to 6. It's like just 10 straight hours. I mean, so it's kind of weird how that worked out. But yeah, I mean, we all survived. That was one heck of a hot day.
This is a little inside baseball, but I 100% think if, camps moving forward need to take that type of setup, and maybe you keep the offensive and defensive linemen together so they can do one-on-ones. Maybe you keep the wide receivers and defensive backs and quarterbacks together so you can do one-on-ones. But having it staggered into groups was awesome because we were able to watch literally almost every rep for every kid.
Yeah, you don't have one-on-ones between receivers and DBs while you have one-on-ones going on with tackle, offensive linemen and defensive linemen, which is pretty much how every camp operates. You have to pick and choose which one you want to see. All right, let's talk a little bit. We got off the pod last week, if you remember, and we had a really interesting recruiting situation. And Bob, I know, Caleb Johnson, athlete out of Greenville, Texas, 2021 kid. It was put out in a local paper, the Greenville, whatever the Greenville paper was, that he had committed to Oklahoma. Yet the entire article did not have him quoted saying, yes, this is why I selected Oklahoma, or it seemed very canned in that it was an article written about something else, and maybe someone had told the reporter, oh, yeah, this kid committed to Oklahoma, and they just ran with it as the headline. But it was kind of one of those deals. He ends up, was it Tuesday when he finally came out and put something online? Something on social media.
The O comes out Monday night. The article comes out Thursday morning, and he comes out Friday afternoon.
Okay.
With his little thing. And yeah, I mean, it was an O, by the way. It was in a positive sentence. It was just a comma. Who is committed to OU, comma. I mean, it wasn't a big deal at all within the framework of the story, but he, Caleb confirmed it, and I'm sure, you see his head coach in the story admit flat out, we've never had anyone recruited like Caleb has been. And then so maybe it's just a case of the school not really being used to dealing with that type of situation.
Sure, yeah.
But no harm, no foul. He confirmed he did his own thing on Friday afternoon, and you move on, and then what you look at is what he brings to the table, and that's speed. And that even in the edit, it's faster than you. And this is a guy with a confirmed time 10.58 in the 100. And I mean, that's what the Sooners are looking for. And that's why there's other highly ranked prospects that you thought OU might go after, but if they don't check all the boxes that Alex Grinch needs, they're going to move on, even if Caleb Johnson is right now ranked a 3-star and a middle of the road 3-star. That simply doesn't matter because he does what Grinch and Roy Manning want their corners to do, moving forward.
Which, I mean, look all over the roster for Oklahoma. I mean, Lincoln Riley has done that on offense. I mean, of course, someone like CeeDee Lamb, who's a lot more than just about speed. It's about, ability to, make plays in one-on-one situations, just ball skills, route running, strength, all that stuff, size. But then you have a Marquise Brown, and you don't, like Lincoln set the tone, like you never pass up on speed, even though he was a tiny little guy, and he kind of had to figure his way along the way. I mean, it was halfway through his first season when he really started making an impact in that Oklahoma State, Kansas State, those games. But his speed ended up being the difference. And you see Alex Grinch kind of has that same philosophy on defense. Like, if all things are equal, I'm going for the speed. Or even if they're not equal, I'm still going for the speed over other stuff.
Yeah, because I think they want 2 out of 3, either the height, the length, or the speed. But if you have the speed, they can overcome other areas where maybe they don't feel it. And Caleb Johnson certainly has that. And that's why you saw him committed, while some like a Prophet Brown, who I think me and Josh would both agree for the last 2-3 months we thought was a lock to be a Sooner, ends up going to USC on Sunday. And it's not as simplistic as just saying they picked Johnson over Brown, but there's a certain thing to it that they want to get faster. They know that's what they need, but they need to make sure they have a combination of size and speed, and that's what Johnson brings to the table.
What do you think happened there, Bob, as far as the Prophet Brown situation?
Yeah, that's a good question. It almost feels like they were waiting for him to make a move, and then they start looking around, and they like Damon Harmon, who, of course, is expected to announce August 1st, and everything points toward the Sooners there. And they love what Johnson brought in terms of the speed. And Johnson is the new one, right? I mean, they kind of had been recruiting these other guys. And when we thought Prophet Brown would be a lock to OU, Caleb Johnson hadn't even been offered yet. And so as months go on, things change. And that's some of that. Other recruits have got to realize where they stand in the pecking order. Like where they were in April might not be where they are in July. I think that's one of the biggest misnomers that happens a lot is people, you have to read the room and know where you stand when you're about to make a decision like that. And I think, somewhere along the way, Manning and Grinch had decided to sort of move on, and maybe Prophet Brown didn't know it at the time, but he landed on his feet. He had a lot of other offers. Heck, he could have been a running back at a lot of other schools. So he'll stay in California. He'll be with the Trojans, and that'll be one of those that we will sort of be watching. Some of those like, wait a minute, they could have had this kid. So how does he pan out in college compared to the one that the Sooners actually ended up taking?
Well, it also makes you wonder if there's not a shift with a lot of major programs in their thinking that we need to close this thing out quickly, because we can't, if this thing opens back up and, visits start happening again, and maybe the December signing period gets pushed back or something, like, we need to get our classes secure, because we have no idea what's going to happen. We have no idea, if kids are going to play or not. Let's find the guys. Let's put a class together that we know we can win with in the future. And that might mean that we don't wait around until signing day. We don't sit here and hope that we're going to finish with a good class. We just take the guys that we feel like are good enough for us to take.
And that kind of segues into another prospect. Though you look at Damon Harmon. I mean, here's someone who's expected to announce August 1st, cornerback from Virginia. Oh, by the way, high school teammate of Kelvin Gilliam. And that's, if you think bringing in Harmon is not that big of a drop off in terms of talent between him versus Prophet Brown, but that getting him helps your chances in getting Gilliam, then maybe that's the type of discussions that had to have been made. Now, Gilliam is expected to announce on August 22nd. I think we all feel it's going to be OU or Penn State, and I don't have a clue as to who it's going to be as of this day. When we had a couple rivals, analysts say OU earlier this week, definitely got the board fired up, but it's a long ways to go. We got a solid month to see exactly what's going to go down there, and it definitely feels like a fight that Calvin Thibodeau, Alex Grinch, Lincoln Riley, they're going to fight until the very bitter end.
I would love to know what the thought process is through the Oklahoma recruiting office, just as far as like how they felt that they've handled this whole thing. Like from the outside looking in, I would think that they have to feel pretty damn confident about what they've done as far as putting together the virtual visits and stuff. Obviously getting Caleb Williams in tow, getting the ball rolling down the hill kind of here in the month of July. But even with what we've known through over the last couple months, there's even more unknown as we move closer to the start of football season, and then how you recruit guys in season, and everything else that's going to play out besides the actual football on the field. Well,
and it kind of leads into this. I don't want to call it. It's just this rumor. I don't want to add too many adjectives and piss people off. But this whole Caleb Williams doing the whole summit thing, like, people have to realize this is all virtual. I mean, we talked about the Kendall Daniels thing and, the geotagging of College Station and all that stuff. I can tell you, Lincoln Riley is not interested in kids just showing up to do unofficial visits. Like, they have back-to-back-to-back weeks of zero positives. They're not going to let someone just come in, or a group of people just come into their facility that are unchecked and do any kind of weird, unofficial stuff. Like, that is insanity. Like, that's just not going to happen. So if you think that there's some summit happening at OU in person with recruits, like, please stop. Just please stop.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they could do something on Zoom, but
yeah,
when you go back,
it's all going to be virtual.
The last time we talked to Riley, he even said, like, what do we do with recruits? Do we have to quarantine them? Like there's no way he would risk the prospect of a season or of his team staying healthy just for a little added oomph that might not resonate in the long run with having like 5 to 10 top-rated kids coming to campus, spending zero time with the coaches because that's not allowed by any means. Yeah, it's just the reward is definitely not worth it.
No, he's not. He's not letting you come in and contaminate his program. I'm sorry. I mean,
especially with things going as well as they are right now.
Yes.
I mean, as far as numbers go.
So I don't know. I guess just it's this time of year. People are willing to fantasize or come up with crazy scenarios because they're.
It'd be badass if they could get something like that. And I think if it is on Zoom, we need to make an oath that we will try and hack into it.
Yeah, if you're a hacker, hit me up in my DMs. Let's see what we can do. All right. Okay.
Snuck into the barbecue a couple years ago.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the kicker kid. I mean, you're not sneaking into the Switzer Center right now. I guarantee you, you are. That will never happen right now. You're not. There's going to be. There's temperature checks, and there's a guy there's one door. There's only one door you can enter. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's not happening. That's just it's a different time. Okay, we didn't.
It's real quick. It's almost like protocols and guidelines that are observed help not spread the virus. It's almost like, is it protocols or prayer? Protocols or prayer?
Oh my God.
Something to think about.
Is there a mask policy in Oklahoma City now?
Yeah.
Is that in effect now? Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
I just know in Norman there is.
I just don't want to be outed on Twitter as Eddie Radosevich walking around without a mask. So I put the fucking thing on every time I go do something.
And you just want to go up to everyone and say antibodies.
I breathe a little bit heavier, hoping that my breath will get out of the mask. Yes.
No, I'm trying not to be a silent judgment guy, because I went to 7-Eleven last night and there were like 7 people in there and 2 people didn't have masks on. And of course I was silently judging them. And then I felt like such an asshole because the woman that was in front of me, she wasn't wearing a mask, and she was not attractive, and she was buying cigarettes, by the way, which was ironic. And then she got in her car that was right next to me, and I was getting a bag of ice. So I went around and put the bag of ice in my car, and I get in my car, and she is just sitting there sobbing, like in her car. I'm like, yeah, I guess you just can't really tell. I mean, like, maybe there's just a bunch of Kanyes running around everywhere right now. Everybody's just losing their shit.
I think that's probably fairly accurate.
Have you guys had that moment where you just like had mini freakouts or anything? Bob's been too busy being Mr. Mom, probably.
Yeah, I was like, no, I've actually been occupied, so I haven't. I think if I was alone with my thoughts, maybe, but that just hasn't happened.
Sounds weird. Alone with my thoughts. No, you just got to keep busy. I mean, that's the main thing.
Yep.
It's good now that, like, I left NBA TV on all day yesterday. It just all day. I was just watching, had basketball in the background for the most part, but it was really nice to have some NBA back.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Honestly, it's like the college football thing to me is we've gotten to the point where we're playing. It's just a matter of how now.
Yeah. We're playing as long as, and I wonder, we'll talk to Lincoln, I'm sure, pretty soon, but just kind of like what you guys were talking about in the camps, like, and you watch like the NBA, they're in the bubble and they're still social distancing on the bench, which I don't think is necessary, but they're still doing it. Like, do you eliminate all kind of 7-on-7 or, full skeleton or one-on-ones? Like, how much do you do and how much do you eliminate throughout camp?
Yeah. And I mean, we're talking about too, I think it was either Andy Staples or Ross Dellinger. I can't remember who wrote the article, but it was kind of like a basic look at what a practice could look like. And I mean, you're talking about getting down to the idea of not only first and second strings not going against each other, but you're talking about like rooming as far as the depth chart goes, to where you're basically you're not having guys come in contact with each other, basically. And to the extent of, like, say, like, can you trust a walk-on is basically kind of one of the ideas out there. Like, would a scholarship player be more apt to socially distance than a walk-on that knows he's not going to get on the field on Saturday? Are you going to have to room starters together so they can kind of be in their own little secular corner of the locker room, if you will? Like, it's pretty fascinating. I saw that, I think it was Greg Tipton and Clark Stroud put out a tweet, I think it was yesterday, talking about they were in meetings and planning meetings. I would assume those meetings are all directly centering around how the hell are we going to pull this thing off?
Yeah, and Lincoln's a big planner, so he's got probably mountains of information on, how to, could they do this or would this help? Or like you said, like, is it better to never have your ones together in practice? Like,
yes,
you got to mix them with the 2s and the 3s, and you never really. I mean, I'm sure Bill Bedenbaugh would not like to, go through a preseason camp where his 5 starting offensive linemen aren't playing together. Although he'll probably tell you, they really never know who the starting 5 are going to be. They kind of do now, but last year they didn't. I mean, in a lot of years they're trading off guys all the time through camp until they figure out the best 5. And sometimes they don't even figure out the best 5 until game days.
Quote unquote.
What's that?
I mean, we really believe that.
What, that they don't know the best 5 until game day?
Yeah.
Look at TCU when they put Ben Powers in the game for the first time. Totally changed their offensive line.
Maybe outside of the offensive line. I don't know. Maybe
you want Spencer Rattler throwing to Charleston Rambo, to Theo Weiss. to, Braden Willis. I mean, yeah, you want him having those, but you can get those connections through just throwing without being in live or scrimmage situations. But I mean,
I think it's pretty unrealistic to think that you can prevent them from not throwing with each other, but to think that those guys aren't hanging out is just it's impossibly and I guess maybe the numbers prove that maybe there's something to it, but I don't know, in a way, to a bigger extent, the testing of students before they get back to campus, I think is a complete waste of money. When they all get together, of course there's going to be a bigger risk.
Yeah, I mean, someone will bring it in from somewhere, even if you make sure that no one has it when they come in. I mean, a university's never going to be a bubble.
No, not at all. And hardly. I mean, it's impossible to think that it would be.
Yeah, it's funny that the last time we spoke to Lincoln Riley was after the initial testing and that the numbers weren't that great. And now they've gone 3 straight weeks of zeros. And we haven't talked to Riley since. I don't know if we'll get to talk to him until the virtual media day with August 3rd would be next Monday, not the Monday coming up, but the one after that. And just because, remember, he said flat out it'd be arrogant to try to control these kids outside of the facility, outside of the hours that you're working together. But, what has been done that this has worked so well? I mean, this almost, there's, to the conspiracy theorists or whatever, the skepticism would be, this is doctored. There's no way they are actually doing this. There's no way they've gone 3 straight weeks of testing nearly 100 college-age kids and still getting zeros.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I mean, and I'm sure if I'm Texas, I'm probably like, yeah, OU's not reporting, right?
Yep.
They're cheating. That's how I'd feel. Because it's unprecedented to have that many when you're not in the the NBA bubble, I believe it because they're in the NBA bubble. OU is not in the NBA bubble. So it doesn't seem normal that you would have 3 straight weeks of 0 positive cases.
You went through July 4th weekend and nothing happened. Your players were all on their best behavior. Nothing happened. It's hard. It's hard to believe.
And that's why you're going to freak out if you come up with 1 week and you have 3 positives because you can be, oh, crap, how much is this spreading?
See, and that's where I think you get into the conversation of right now, it's good that it's great that they're getting those numbers back right now, but there's no students on campus. It's just those guys being around each other. So
Clemson might be your national champions because if they're going to play football with no students on campus, they might be able to play all their games with all their starters.
I told you in the Scoop War Room the other day that the team that might capitalize off of all of this is Nebraska. Nobody in the fucking state of Nebraska even has the coronavirus. That's the only state in the 50 states that is completely free of the goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Scott Frost he's gonna screw it up, isn't he?
I don't know. Nebraskans are probably pretty good at just staying at home.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They live in 1950.
Eating their bacon and pancakes.
But they'd have 80,000 at a spring game. So I don't know what the heck they're going to do if they can't go to games.
Yeah, that's true.
It's hard to hate. It's hard to hate on the Nebraska people. They're just. Do you feel
they're there?
I kind of feel bad for them because they suck at football so bad now, and they have really zero hope of becoming a great power again. Does anybody think Nebraska's ever going to be competing for a national championship anytime soon?
The sad thing is they don't have to just get leaps better. They just have to be better than all the other shitty teams in their division. Yeah,
and they're in a shitty division. Maybe, hell, but they're not Minnesota. Minnesota's a hell of a lot better than they are.
Yeah, sadly, that is very true. And as long as PJ Fleck's in Minneapolis, I would imagine I don't see Minnesota going down anytime soon.
We'll see if PJ gets fat during the offseason. That would prove to me that he's committed to Minnesota.
Like physically fat?
Yeah, he's too physically fit.
Oh no,
That's part of my
He's one of those
theory.
guys that-
You don't want a
he's one of
physically
those
fit
guys that
coach.
probably runs a marathon in the mornings every day just because.
Yeah, if your coach is not physically fit, that means he can settle, and he's settling for you.
What about Doug's?
Doug's is not a real person, so he does nothing to disprove my theory. Doug's is a T-shirt seller. That's who Doug's is. All right, let's face the truth.
Fair enough.
Doug's is on this earth to sell T-shirts.
Carrie, I know that you talked to our Army folks a couple weeks ago, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago. We saw that the Cuomo news coming out. Where are you in terms of and I guess this is kind of a stupid ass question, but in terms of booking travel, where are you in terms of that? No chance that's happening. Are we even thinking about something like that? It kind of seems like that is.
Are you going to send us to the game or not?
No, and I would be the first one to say I'd be ready to go tomorrow. But
no, look, if media goes, I will send you.
Being played.
If media can cover games, I will send you. I mean, I have no doubts about it. I have not booked your flights. I haven't. I have not done that. I mean,
I guess what I'm saying is it just seems like we're getting closer and closer to some actual real decisions being made.
Yeah.
And the kind of the sexy thing out there this week is the 9+1 format. How doable that is, I have no idea. But it seems like, we are at any moment something could drop, and I'd be like, well, that's the decision. That's the decision.
And I still think Army can play. Because the fact that they're in New York is at least open to okay, well, the NFL is going to play games. We just can't have fans there. So they are certainly open to, I would think, Army playing games. And for Army, they have 38,000 seat stadium or whatever. So it's not like, they're going to be crushed like Oklahoma by, not having as many fans in the stands. But I definitely think Army still wants to play. The real question is, what are Bob Bowlesby and the Big 12 ultimately going to decide? Are they? Because I think if Lincoln Riley and Joe Castiglione if they had the ability to make the choice, I think they'd just play all the games and see what happens. I really do.
Trust in what they've been able to do with their testing and feel confident that would carry the day, as long as other schools are handling it in sort of the same way, maybe not the exact same way, but the safety protocols. That's why I think we all feel more confident with the Power 5 conferences, just because of the fact they've got more resources, more people probably devoted toward trying to figure things out. And you feel like Missouri State's maybe doing the best they can, but what is the best they can compared to what someone like at a Tennessee's best?
But see, that's another thing too. I don't think Joe wants to give up that pay-per-view game either, because that's definite revenue that you're getting. Yeah. You're going to get more revenue from that than you will any other game that you play this year, just because people are going to pay for it. So, OU is actively helping Missouri State with their protocols and things like that, trying to make sure that they are, doing the things that they need to do in order to, be lower on the scale for COVID, cases. So, they want to play that game really bad. It's just, and they should. It's a real revenue generator for them.
No doubt about it. I guess the biggest question out there right now in terms of college football is, if you look at a school like Oklahoma, can what they're doing as far as protocols that are in place, can that stand up to when students are on campus alongside the football players? Is that the biggest question mark right now in college sports?
Ask me one more time. Ask me the question one more time.
Can what Oklahoma's doing as far as the protocols, and it's obviously giving them good results because they haven't had any infections or anybody with the virus, can that stand up to when students are on campus with everybody else? Because, the regular student isn't going to be underneath the same umbrella as what Oklahoma football's doing.
Oh, I don't think it can. You're going to have, when you get students on campus, you're going to get positive tests. You just are.
Sure.
And I think
But how is
people are going to get positive tests all across the country. You just are.
it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go in knowing that that's going to happen. And then I guess the question behind that is, and this is certainly probably the biggest question out there as far as, us in the country that we live, like, is it worth all of that? And, it's hateful for me to say it and probably not the most pleasant thing, but I think it is worth it.
And then, Eddie, are these the same students that will be at the raves on Thursday night and Friday night?
I think that is only limited to the Dennis Dodd and Dan Wilkins of the world.
Well, we all know it'll be fraternities and sororities that spread this throughout college football and kill it.
I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I guess the same could be said though for freshmen. Like they shouldn't live together in dorms. I guess.
Oh, I think Dan Wilkin leans into this role more than anyone I've ever seen.
He's very comfortable being a douchebag. There's no question about that.
I mean, he even has other nationally, recognized media person like Doug Gottlieb. I noticed Barrett Sallee was ripping him the other day.
Yeah.
I've never seen a guy attacked by other media personalities like he is. It's amazing.
He's entered a territory that you never return from, and that's the Skip Baylesson type comments.
The hot take. He's a lava taker.
Yeah, for clicks.
Okay, so we still got a ways to go on this thing. Still gonna, like I said, now that they're doing walkthroughs, and let's face it, at some point we're gonna see OU release a COVID update that has some positives on it. I mean, like today, when we got a little heads up, like, hey, this is coming. So I couldn't wait to see, and I was surprised to see 0 again. Now I think I'm going to be surprised when it's not 0 since it's been 3 straight. But, like, that's the thing. We could talk about all of this stuff real positive, but when OU finally releases something, say we had 3 positive cases, we're going to be more like, oh, let's dial it back a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess how they respond to something like that will be interesting just for the fact that, as time goes on, we're going to be getting closer to the quote-unquote start of the season. Does that affect anybody's decision-making? And, in a way, I've been pretty proud of, and I know that we talked about this last week, but I think if you're an Oklahoma fan, you have to be pretty proud of the way that the Big 12, the ACC, and the SEC have kind of stuck together on this and tried to get as much information as possible. And even when they make a decision, who knows if it's going to be the right or wrong one. I don't even know if you could define it as a right or wrong. Everybody is going to kind of be in the same boat on this thing.
Well, what's kind of weird to me, too, is, the NBA done a great job. Nobody can deny what they're in the best possible situation. And they're going to succeed. I have no doubts. It's going to go well. It's just weird that the NFL hasn't provided any more leadership, because it would make you feel better as a college football fan if you knew the NFL was they strongly believed in what they were doing to the point of, making more public statements about it. It's just so weird. You've seen players that have been upset doing kind of like a social media blitz. And then you just don't really, Peter King wrote some big thing about how he went and saw the Vikings facility or whatever. And that was very positive, but like, you wish that the players kind of were coming out more in favor of, yes, we're going to play football this year.
Do you subscribe to the idea that college should wait and see what the NFL does before they really get the whole thing going?
I do. Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad decision at all. I don't think that'd be a bad idea at all, Bob.
Or work together in some sort of fashion. All the experts that are trying to do this.
Sure.
Yeah, you would think you could come up with some standards like we were talking about in practice. Like, what are things that we can do? to get ready to actually play a real football game? What are the things that aren't necessary for us to do? Like, just, you could really help each other. So.
It doesn't seem like anybody's interested in, it's kind of like you get down to the high school level. Nobody's willing to make a decision. Everybody's kind of passing the buck to everybody else, aren't they?
Well, and this whole thing is brand new too. I mean, nobody really knows.
There isn't a fucking guideline book on how to operate athletics through a pandemic that was supposed to be gone a couple months ago.
Yeah. And I mean, getting the numbers down is important, but I don't know that we're going to get there. I don't think you can trust that you're going to get there.
Sure.
And like I said, as long as you don't have someone seemingly healthy die because they got this, that seems kind of cold and heartless for me to say that. But
yeah,
I mean,
that would seem
that
to
would
be
shut it down. That's the nuclear option. I mean, that's the thing that just kills it.
That's the number one option that I think everybody, including myself, if we were to pass that bridge, you say to yourself, okay, what are we really doing here? What are we really accomplishing?
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth one person dying. It's really not. I mean,
no,
but the evidence says that
that
won't happen.
Take that for us to get there.
Yeah,
correct.
Because all the evidence overwhelmingly says that won't happen.
Sure.
To athletes, anyway, of this age. Now, if a coach dies or something because of it, then that's almost as bad, probably.
Yeah. No, I think it is.
Taking a real morbid turn here.
You could even expand that out to, the older professor that is, been teaching at OU or OSU or wherever for the last 35 years. Or even the high school teacher that is in class with people all day. So, yeah. I don't know. It's f***ed up. I know that.
All right. Well, Eddie, you told someone that your F-bombs had lessened in 2020, and I don't believe that because
I relapsed.
You've been a champion.
You have.
You were bad last week, too, I'll tell you.
I relapsed.
It was like Josh and I started doing it more, and so then you had to come over the top.
Well, I look up to you guys. You guys are setting a bad example.
It's our fault. I see.
Right. It's never my fault.
Anything good going on with you guys? Either TV stuff or new hobbies,
sure. Or we've got to talk about the 2022 receiver commitment where the I's came back instead of the O.
I meant to bring up Mr. Hudson. I thought we'd already done that, but I digress. No.
Yeah. So Jordan Hudson. I mean, that Texas receiver group in 2022 is absolutely loaded, but Jordan Hudson is clear that he's been a priority for the Sooners for a long time. He was offered in person back in junior day, February, and his offer list at that time didn't scream 4-star or anything of that nature, top 100. But his offer list since, I mean, when you're talking Alabama, you're talking LSU, you're talking, all the big boys have come in now, but OU had already gotten a head start on all of them with that offer. And we were a little disappointed because Hudson was one of the few Texas names expected to be in Durant Sunday that didn't actually make it. It would have really been nice to see him Sunday, then have him commit Tuesday. That would have been perfect for us. But he's from Garland, Texas, had 79 catches, 1,285 yards, and 19 touchdowns as a sophomore. And if you're at Garland, you're playing some of the best of the best in the Dallas Metroplex. So, I mean, this is a great piece to start your 2022 offensive side of the ball. You have Kobe McKenzie, linebacker, and now you've got Hudson for offense. And this helps. You get a good receiver. We've seen the trend between Trajan Bridges and Theo Weiss, Charleston Rambo, and CeeDee Lamb, Cody Jackson. You get that good first receiver to really start anchoring things down. The rest of the class, that sets the bar of where you want things to go. And if you can get players to the caliber of Jordan Hudson throughout 2022, Sooners will be doing just fine.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, but it seems like Oklahoma isn't having too many troubles recruiting guys to play in this offense, so specifically at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why so many people are still wondering what happened in 2018, how there's none of those receivers are even on campus. We're still wondering about 2020 with like the projects, like the Trayvon West, the Brian Darby, like not the prototypical sort of receiver that you would want to go after, and just kind of see if that pans out. And if maybe as good as 2021 looks, because it's going to be a pretty incredible class at receiver, can they duplicate that? Can they finally go away from the every other year we hit it big? Can they, if you can get Jordan Hudson and you get go to Sanfeg, Shetron, Armani Winfield, of course, is another one from the state of Texas that's looked like an OU lean for months and months. If those are your three receivers, you're saying, okay, we didn't take a step back. We went back-to-back years of just elite after elite. And they can do that. It's just going to be about those receivers and their willingness to accept the fact that it's a loaded depth chart with a lot of good names on it.
I almost think it's got to the point where Oklahoma's kind of learned, and maybe not learned, but it's become less of a big deal when you get that 5-star for, like, it used to be like, oh, you get a 5-star, like, everybody's going to be afraid to come here for years after that guy until he's about gone. But like now Oklahoma's almost building that reputation where they're just stacking up so many, All-American types. Like, it's not a big deal. It's, to have a Spencer Rattler is not scaring away a Caleb Williams. To have, Jaden Hazelwood is, I think those 5-stars kind of scared away that 2020 class, like you were talking about a little bit. But I think they've kind of learned how to overcome that a little bit.
Yeah, it's really about those other recruits accepting the fact that this is what they're coming into. That's not like OU's going to lower their standards just so you can come in and play with them. You want 5-stars every single year. I think Marvin Mims was a great example. I think he wrestled with it. Do I really want to be with all those other guys? And you actually look at his position, and Michael Jones leaves. Now there's the possibility of Trajan Bridges being suspended for the first 5 games.
Oh, he's suspended for the first 5.
We don't know that.
No, we do.
But
I don't.
It's like
Lincoln's just not going to announce. I'm sorry, but he's suspended for the first 5 games.
He's never going to. We could ask at Big 12 Media Days. It's still going to be the appeal process is going on, and no, don't even have a clue.
I'm just going to start asking questions like, now that Trajan Bridges is really suspended for the first 5 games, here's my question. Just don't even give him an opportunity to. They're not. I mean, Lincoln is holding on to the hope that they just get rid of that rule. I think. I think that's exactly what's going on. But there's no more appeal stuff. None of that. They're suspended. There.
I mean, that would be. I just don't see it. Like, Lincoln's smart enough. Like, I just don't think that he honestly believes that they'll just come out and be like, all right, we're doing away with that.
I think he's hopeful of that still happens.
Now, should they? Yeah. Hell yeah, they should. I think everybody's
absolutely
saying that.
Yeah.
For a while.
I mean, if it's legal in so many states now, come on. It should be treated like alcohol. It really should.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of what you were saying, what both of you guys were saying about the expectations, it would seem to me that the expectations for what Oklahoma does, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, has been raised a little bit. It's almost like you should be disappointed when they don't get the first pick out of the litter, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why a lot of fans were looking at the 2020 receiver class thinking, these are the type of projects that we took maybe 5-6 years ago. These aren't the guys that we're, quote unquote, supposed to be getting with Dennis Simmons and Cale Gundy and how great of a job they do year in, year out. Why is it that these are, not even no 4-star receiver until Mims really got that bump late? It's like, what's going on? Why didn't this class connect as well. And then when you see 2021 and Mario Williams, 5-star, Cody Jackson's definitely a 250 kid. There's a lot of other choices out there, like Jaleel Farouk would be an easy 250 kid. Emeka Egbuka could be another 5-star. I mean, that's what the fans want to expect year in, year out.
That's what they expected Alabama, and you're seeing that on the offensive side at Oklahoma now. Alex Grinch is that's his charge now, is to have a defense that does that kind of stuff. So,
and that's why Gilliam is so important.
Yeah,
because that's again, it goes back to the type of battles they never would have won before. If you start winning them, then on-field product changes, and then expectations on the trail start changing.
All right, fellas. I hope everybody is staying sane out there as much as they're staying safe. I know it's probably getting to you a little bit, but thankfully sports is coming back, and hopefully college football will be among one of those soon. As we talk about, practices are now, the walkthrough practices are now getting underway, so coaches can be out there doing instruction, which I think is good, because you talk about trying to social distance. The more walkthroughs you can do, the less contact stuff you have to do, or the close quarter stuff you have to do when the preseason gets here, which is August 7th, is when the camps will start. So we'll see what happens with OU, if they can get that Missouri State game moved up. Still not a whole lot more information on that, in whether the NCAA is going to grant that or not. Before we leave, I will tell you boys something, and this, Bob would probably get more excited. Josh would get really excited about this.
All right.
I did subscribe to Disney Plus, and I did watch The Mandalorian. But I'm going to tell you what, Disney Plus really has nothing else for me.
Oh, really?
What about Hamilton?
I don't care about Hamilton.
I'm holding out as long as possible.
Well, all the Marvel movies, just
I've got
right
all
there
those.
for
I've
you?
got them all. I mean, I've got them all digital. I don't need them. The
Okay.
ones that I want to watch, I've got. So I'm a buyer. I'm a purchaser of movies.
Okay, all right. I
So
gotcha.
all the Marvel stuff, I'm not a big Disney guy. Like, they have so much National Geographic stuff that I don't really.
They do. They have
I mean,
a lot
I
of
like that stuff, but I'm not paying $7 a month for that stuff. So it just does. I look through it all. There's just not a whole lot there for me. I guess I'll just get rid of it and then get it again when the second season comes out. Because I love The Mandalorian. It was great. So
That's on the queue. I've not watched it yet.
Really? All the crap
Disney
you and
Plus
your
is
wife
on
watch?
the wrong TV. It's in the living room instead of the bedroom, and I'm in the bedroom a lot more than the living room.
Yeah,
here
I have
lately.
the old Apple TV where I can't add apps. It sucks. So I can't put it on there.
Yes, my bedroom TV is so old that all the apps have gone away just about because it's too old.
You're like, there's a Blockbuster app. Use it. Other than that, anything else you guys want to get at before we get out of here?
Two things. I just can't believe that they kill that guy in The Mandalorian. It's crazy.
That guy. That's amazing.
You know,
yeah.
the one. That guy.
Of all the people that they killed, it was that guy that bothered you most.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable. The other thing, for the OU golf fans, that if you catch this before Friday, Ryan Hybl is tied for the lead at one of the biggest amateur tournaments in the country right now. It's one of the most respected
That's
ones.
amazing.
And he's tied with Quade Cummins, his player, one of the better players on the OU golf team. So,
Wow.
keep an eye on that at the Sunahana in Pennsylvania. I mean, it's a major deal in the amateur golf world, but for him even to be tied after not playing for 6 years competitively is somewhat unbelievable. It's a real sports story. So keep an eye on that. I will be.
I bet Nate's out there cheering him on.
I saw last night he had tweeted something to the OU Golf Twitter page. So yeah, I would imagine so.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
really cool.
All right, fellas, I appreciate it. Josh, screw you. I know you're drunk and you don't care at a pool somewhere, but we missed you today. Anyway, Thanks, everybody, for listening. Like I said, stay sane as well as staying safe, and try and do something for yourself. Try and enjoy yourself a little bit. Sports is coming back, but I know it's been a little difficult out there. We'll have some more stuff to announce soon also on Woofy and his charity that we're planning on starting up. We've had a lot of good discussions with the OU Stevenson Cancer Research Center. So I'll be telling you guys more about that on the message boards. Also, Soonerscoop.com. I know times are tough. Like I said, like we've said before, if you've hit hard times, been laid off, just give me a holler. See Murdoch at Soonerscoop.com. Want to do everything we can to help you if you've been a loyal subscriber. Also, if you would like to subscribe, a lot of recruiting stuff going on, but football getting ready to gear up, so there's never been a better time. Go and subscribe, support Soonerscoop.com if you love the podcast, but never been a subscriber. We'd love to have you join the community. So thank you to Eddie. Thank you to Bob. Thanks for all you guys for listening. And we'll see you back here next week on another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com.